It truly is gutting. And this is a message to my kids. I love you so much. And I've done probably more than you'll ever know. I've bit my tongue and not spoken out more than you'll ever know to try and protect you. Remember that he's now 13 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Dad, what the fuck?
What?
That's some pretty shit parenting. You told me 3 times that you would let me do craft, and one day before it starts, you pull out. And you couldn't even fucking tell me." Even though she's won the lottery, she's got more money, she's financially secure, she just wants more. I opened up her For Me to see that in her assets, it says she's won nearly 1.4 million on the lottery. She wasn't just getting the debt. Didn't just win the lottery. She was also getting benefits, and she was also getting working tax credits at the time.
Really? Good afternoon. Welcome to Disqualified Dads. I'm back here with Mr. Jeremy English. We're not in Watford this time, and this time we're here for part 2. Now, firstly, I just want to apologize on the last video on part 1, the background noise. You have no idea the challenges we had to face to try and pull that off. It was a very packed calf. Women all around us giving us dirty looks and all sorts. So apologies for that. Thank you and a shout out to all the people that have engaged in the comments, all the subscribers, all the people supporting the channel. And please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'm nearly at 1K. Please subscribe, help push the channel forward. Right, Jeremy, last time in the cafe, in the coffee shop, we were talking about your situation, your case, your breakdown, your family breakdown, your marriage breakdown. And we got up to the point, I believe, where you were dealing with CMS. They had slapped a 11 grand fine on you, or arrears, false arrears, 11 grand false arrears.
Yeah.
You were battling that, and you were dealing with people with within the CMS on the phone with, what do you call it, their people in their office. You had a different person every time. They were messing you about. You weren't getting any straight answers. You're getting threatening letters, all of that. Does that jog your memory?
Yes.
Right.
Where I don't know what point we left off.
You were up to the point of the ICE investigation. So you complained to the ICE.
Yes.
ICE investigation. It was around the 1st of May.
Yes.
We got to around the 1st of May.
I was sent a letter. I started the ICE investigation, and they, the CMS didn't. The DWP had responded, but clearly only knew some of the figures, and they had completely ignored important conversations I'd had the previous December, and then I was in process. Then I started the ICE investigation, and then before I knew it, on the 1st of May, yet again, they slapped me with this 11 grand order against me.
Right. When was this? 1st of May 2022?
This was 23. 1st of May 23.
So 1st of May 2023, this year, you were slapped with that 11 grand again.
Yeah. The previous year, when they took me to court, they said they're taking court proceedings. They never followed it up. So it was left, this fear and threat of, and the worry about were they going to actually, when was these court proceedings going to start? Because they didn't say, we're considering taking you to court the year before. They said, we are taking you to court the year before. So they had that in April 2022. And then after that, no one would consider the details of my case. So that's why I'd spoken and I'd communicated and I'd asked to speak to a manager. And I remember ringing one of the agents at the CMS. I don't know if we covered this last week, but she said, I said, "Do you know my case?" And she said, no, I don't know your case. I said, "Does anyone else know my case? Will anyone else?" And she said, no one in my department will know your case. And I was just flabbergasted by that.
That's good, yeah.
Great. And then, so I said, "Well, please, can I speak to a manager?" And she really was very angry with me. And I said, "Please." And eventually she didn't let me speak. And eventually I said, just simply, "Please, can the manager know all my case and listen to the conversations I'd have with previous agents?" so that we can discuss it. And then the manager, of course, rings me and she goes, so tell me what's going on. And I said, well, do you know my case? And she said, no. So I was left with, yet again, they don't know my case. And I went through it with her. And she just, instead of responding sensibly or proactively or about having listened to it in details about the figures, they just said, sorry, can't help you anymore. We're referring you to the DWP complaints department, which was just lunacy because, that's all they did. And then, of course, the DWP complaints department didn't know my situation. So they only half knew it. So I wrote back saying, you only know half my case. And then they wrote back saying, thank you. We thank you for your constructive comments. We'll pass them on. Without, again, just fobbing me off.
Basically, you're going around in circles.
Absolutely.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
They fob you off from one department to
another.
And whilst they planted this threat on you of these arrears.
I'd had the court order from, they're telling me they're taking me to court for April 22. And then all of a sudden on the 1st of May, this year, I get an order. They're taking me to court now for 11 grand. But it was different because it was through the magistrate's court. They hadn't specified that before. And I just didn't know what to believe. So actually, I just left it alone because there was no point in me responding because I just didn't know if it was going to action it or not. And then what happened this summer in July, with less than 3 weeks' notice, really, even 2 weeks, they gave me the hearings in Norwich in August. So I was left with, oh my God, I've got to deal with this. So I was able to adjourn the hearing to St Albans, and then I was able to start, by adjourning the hearing, it gave me time to ask them a lot of questions, sensible questions about my calculations. How did they arrive at this 11 grand? How did they come to the conclusion that I've paid 35 grand to my ex when I've actually paid 39.5 on my bank statements? How did they get to this 47 that I'm supposed to have paid in all the time that I've been paying maintenance? And were there any arrears involved? They've already said that we won't charge the arrears, we won't charge collection fees. So I wanted to know what the breakdown was. So I asked them some sensible questions. And also, why did they inflate my income? Because they've said suddenly I've got this unearned income, which actually it doesn't happen. It's not, I don't have that. I've got.
Okay, so look, we keep hearing about this sort of stuff about the CMS now. Where could they have got that idea?
Well,
how did they come up with that?
They wrote to me in 2021 doing a mandatory revaluation because they said you've got unearned income. I wrote to them then saying, no, I don't have. They ignored that letter, completely ignored it, didn't respond about it at all. And then this year, I wrote to them about the unearned income and I explained, and I actually sent them my tax calculations because I'm self-employed. It's different from being employed situation. So I sent them my tax calculations for the last 2 years. And I said, please, can you explain why you've actually inflated my income over 25%, what it actually is, and just asked them polite civil questions to explain their calculations. I wasn't aggressive or rude or anything. I was just asking civil, polite questions. So they didn't. And then they actually wrote back. They didn't, of course, they were very late in responding. The hearing got adjourned again to St Albans, which is a local court for me, on the 22nd of November. That was last week, which happened. Well, they had time to answer my questions, but they didn't for 7 weeks. So they left it very close to the hearing. And they then responded, but without addressing a single calculation. They didn't explain the total that they said I was due. They didn't explain how they arrived at the amount that they said I've paid. They didn't arrive at how much arrears payments there were. They didn't explain at all how they've inflated my income. None of it. So I asked again, and I wrote politely again saying, no, I can't respond to this claim until I actually have some figures. because I just want to work carefully. So they then said to me, oh, there's nothing we can do because we take the bank feed from the HMRC. There's nothing more we can do. So, and they also, very interestingly, and it's completely, it's lunacy, but they also managed to say, well, I asked them, how did they calculate this 35 grand? And I put down on your letter of 1st of May, when they were taking me to court, and the reference number. And they responded back to the answer to the question was, oh, sorry, we can't find the letter.
Right. Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's just complete and utter madness, because I downloaded the letter from the portal, and I'd even put the date and the reference number, and they say, as an excuse not to answer the question, they say they can't find the letter.
Yeah, what is quite scary is this is a government organization. This is a contractor working on behalf of the government. And this contractor is a very, very large firm. We are just normal individual citizens. We don't really have the power to go up against these sort of people. But when they're just operating from a point of complete incompetency, one aspect of it, but the other aspect is it's not incompetency. I think it is design and plan and target. They try and find easy targets to inflate arrears and fleece them. That's what it is. They're trying to
I think it goes
and rob. It's like the mafia, government, white collar crime. That's what it is.
I think it goes way beyond incompetence. That actually they're also, I think they're going out to deliberately mentally harm and torture you by.
So you give in and pay.
Pardon? Yeah.
So you give in and think, you know what? I'll just pay this 11. At least this nightmare's over.
Well, actually, though, I know, Farouk, that it's not going to be. I know they're not going to do that. They're not going to stop, because we know that they're not. They don't. They're going to keep going. So we have to say no and stand up strongly, and not accept this. So I don't consent to this rubbish. But I wrote again, and then I said to them, please supply me with the statements you have received from the HMRC, so I can just cross-reference them with my own statements. Then I can respond, because how can you respond when you don't even know what they're talking about? So brilliantly enough, they just responded with a very simple line to all my questions. And they just said, sorry, we have followed our due process and now we're referring you to the ICE complaint process. Which again is a complete fob off, because I know perfectly well the ICE have written and said, we're not here to check CMS calculations.
Yeah, so again, just be fobbed off. Basically, you're getting pulled pillar to post. You're getting threatening letters. You think you've resolved it. You go full circle. You're back to square one.
Yeah.
So really, your case will be determined at the next hearing. This next hearing that you got coming up.
Well, the hearing last week happened, and they just said the magistrates, which is again, the magistrates' hearing is actually, it's not a proper court process. The magistrates' hearing is, they couldn't answer. When I said, is this a public court of order? They didn't answer. Then I said, and I asked in the magistrates' hearing, will a transcript be made of this hearing and be available to me? They said no. So in other words, it's a blind process. And it actually was pointless. Whether I'd turned up or not, it was irrelevant. Right, Nothing would have been done. In fact, I almost would be saying to people and to dads, don't bother turning up, because it's a complete waste of time. And so it's again, the whole thing is just set up. And the magistrate just sort of said, well, sorry, we can't look at the calculations. I said, I'm not asking you to look at their calculations. I'm asking you to question the process. Because they'd actually, and this has happened before with the CMS, they'd actually transferred my hearing to Norwich again and cancelled it. So I actually only had 2 days notice of the hearing. So I was disorganised, which was not reasonable, breaches court procedural rules. And it's again another breach of court procedural rules that they didn't even engage in trying to, because I wrote to them saying, please can we discuss the calculations so we can avoid the court process. But they ignored it. So that's again a breach of court procedural rules to not engage in discussions with me. And the magistrates just said, no, we're not looking at calculations. No, we're not looking at the process. There's nothing that can be done. And
yeah, this is scary to say the least. Okay, so what will happen at the next hearing that you got?
well,
Before you go on, let me just adjust your mic. I'm just concerned in catching you fully. There you go.
well, the next step for me is to appeal the process. And I'm fully expecting that the appeal process is going to be another complete sham of a process.
Okay, so this last hearing that you went to, when you go there, what was the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose, they'd written in one of the letters, the CMS had said already in the letter prior to the hearing that the debt is due.
So
they'd said in the letter, it's already been decided that
okay, who decided? So CMS has decided that debt is due regardless of any due process, any
they
appeal.
just said that the debt is, in the letter, it very much implied that they'd already made the decision. They said the only reason the magistrate is there is to confirm that you are the person that is liable for the debt. And the only thing they wanted me to do is to stand up and give my name so that they could have it on record that I am the person that is liable for this debt. So it's not in question. They're not questioning whether the debt is liable or not. They've already made up their mind.
So who's policing them? Who's policing that debt? Who's policing the CMS? There is no one policing them. That's the problem, isn't it?
No,
nobody. It is a criminal organization, frankly. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, to me,
that uses these white collar processes
if the bank statements if they produce and show me, and there's actually they have a duty to show me, and I wrote to them saying, do you adhere to the Nolan principles of transparency? Because the Nolan principles are very interesting, and anyone in public office needs to adhere to honesty, integrity, doing what's right in the public interest, being honest, and providing transparency. And I specifically asked that, and they said, yes, we adhere to the Nolan principles of transparency. And then they don't actually apply. So the next step is to write back and ask them, you say you adhere to these Nolan principles of transparency, and so therefore please disclose the statements you've had from the HMRC. Now, I don't think they will do that, because I suspect if they do, that will show that they are being criminal. Because they were being criminal. Because if the statements from the HMRC differ from what they're saying on their claim, they can only say, oh, it was a mistake, or I'm going to keep questioning them so that it's clear it's not a mistake. And if it's not a mistake, you have to say, well, what is it? If they can falsify figures.
Yes, can they legitimately falsify what they want to create these arrears and target parents for profits?
Yeah.
And okay, look, I was having this conversation with someone today prior to the podcast, trying to highlight some of your case. And the first thing they said, again, a natural reaction is, yeah, but if they've got a child, they should pay this and that. And then I had to explain, look, this is a paying father. This is an organization that operate in this corrupt manner. They target parents that they see as easy targets for profiteering. This is categoric profiteering.
I think so. I think it's just a money-making...
Scam.
It's a scam. I agree. It's a good word.
Complete scam and a shambles.
But it's more than that when it's actually really mentally... It's torturous to have to go through this process. I mean, you're in the end of just, horrendous legal battles, because my legal battles with Watford Family Court haven't come to an end. There's huge problems with the family of courts, and then I'm not seeing my son because it's because the contact's gone down and down and down, and then you're slapped with yet another legal battle. And it's like, it's just completely designed to just wear you down.
Yeah.
It's just to pulverize you into submission, because and really, really, really unfortunately for some dads, it's just too much. And they just, either they drop out of life, or they even
Decide to just end it. Yeah.
end it, and my heart, it breaks my heart to think that this is happening.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jeremy, okay, look, yeah. The thing with the family court, so we go back to this altered reality that we never knew about, yeah, that existed in plain sight. Marriage is broken down, relationship, whatever, breaks down. You have the turmoil of dealing with that relationship coming to an end. Then the turmoil which most fathers seem to find themselves in, they are immediately made homeless straight away. They've got no say or right in their children's life, and they're effectively fighting to just see that, just to be part of their children's life. Now that in itself, though it just sounds simple, the emotional and mental turmoil that causes internally, unless you've experienced it, is very hard to explain how difficult it is just to get through that. And then while you're going through this, you're struggling, you're already struggling. CMS come out of nowhere, and it's another pressure all on its own, just adding heat to the pressure cooker. You're literally on edge. You're already on edge. They come along, slap this on you, and I can see why people get to that stage where I think the world is against you, and it does feel like that.
Oh,
you are crushed. I mean, I know the way some people described it. You feel the pressure physically crushing you, crushing your chest. You can't breathe. You have panic attacks. It is excruciatingly painful, the whole thing. But you think, was this an accident? Was this? I mean, the whole thing: family court, separation, the family laws, the lack of rights for fathers, the CMS say to you, we got nothing to do with child contact. But guess what? The less contact father has, the more he pays. Like, who made that rule up? Who decided that? How did that come about? What does that incentivize? So all of that combined.
Yeah, did I mention that my ex had, when I was corresponding in 2022, she rings them, and so she's won the lottery. She's got a lot more money than me, and then Leah, my son, is not staying, more and more and more, and it's going. My contact with him is dwindling, and she rings the CMS and says, you know, my son's not staying. He should be paying more. And then when I spoke to the CMS agent, I was like shocked. That I was just shocked. And the agent said, "Well, is he staying?" And I said, "Well, I expect him to stay. I'm always available for him to stay." And she said, "But is he actually staying?" And I said, "I have a court order
to say he should be staying.
She's staying 5 nights out of 14." And it's like, it's complete madness that they can not only breach the court order, not support the son to have contact with me, but expect to be rewarded for actually breaching the order, which is basically breaking the law. And they break the law, and then they want to get rewarded for breaking the law by getting more money from it. And even though she's won the lottery, she's got more money, she's financially secure, she just wants more.
Jeremy, let's go to a quick break, and we will touch on this lottery win after the break.
Okay.
Right, we're back. If you are suffering from any family court issues, CMS issues, any relationship breakdown issues, put your questions or concerns or queries in the comments, or email me, and I'll try and get back to you. I'll try and put you through to the right organizations and departments and try and get you the help you need. But yeah, if any questions or queries, also feel free to engage in the comments. Right, Jeremy, before the break, I just remember one thing. You said lottery win. Lottery win. What sort of money are we talking?
Well,
let's talk about this win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how much are you getting out of this? What's your cut?
Yeah, very little. So, yes, it was incredible, really, because how it panned out was really extraordinary. We separated in this 60 grand of debt, and I was paying maintenance. Then I was paying double because I was paying for all these after-school activities.
Right.
Then I was paying all the loan fees to pay off all of this debt. I was working extra hard, long hours, and as far as I knew, my ex was she'd moved into social or council housing, or whatever it is, and she'd got a 3-bedroomed house that she was living in, And so, and I wanted to support the kids. So, I was taking on this huge financial pressure, working really long hours. And I remember writing to her in January saying, I cannot keep affording to pay for all of this. I'm going more into debt. It's not possible for me to keep paying more. And then, unbeknownst to me, in March, this is 2017, which is just over 2 years after we separated, she says, she'd got a boyfriend, which she'd got a boyfriend fairly soon after we separated, actually. And in some ways, it was a good thing, because in some ways, it meant that she wanted some time with him, and so she was happy for the kids to come to me. So in a little way, it helped for a bit, and the kids were, of course, totally accepting of the mum having a boyfriend, and it was natural to them that they would go and meet the boyfriend. It's not okay that I have a girlfriend, mind you. That's not all right.
Okay, so she's... what makes you think that she's not okay with that? Like, did something happen? Did she express that in some way?
Well, she told me this even just very, very recently, when I met my daughter a month ago to take her down to see her granny in Salisbury. And I said, well, why isn't my son seeing me? And she angrily said, well, all you ever want to do with the children is when they see you is to meet up with your girlfriend. What do you expect? And it was like, and I was shocked, because actually that isn't the case. I don't do that. And, I'm trying to rebuild the relationship with my son. The last time, we met up with his table tennis coach and we did some cycling, and, he played on his PS5, and we had a nice day. So on our own, and anyway. So yeah.
So she mentioned that recently. So
yeah. So okay. as if that's a reason for why he doesn't want to speak to me, and I don't think that at all. I think I'm afraid it's coming from her own anger. It's very sad, but it gets put through to my son, and
okay, try and recap some of this here, because
yeah,
I think we're going all over the place.
We're going off a tangent. So
let me try and get some clarity again. So from where we were. So look, May 2016, 18 months after a quarter, you separated around you separated in 2016, yeah?
No, we separated October 2014, and then she won the lottery in March 2017. The first I knew of a lottery win was when she said, oh, I'm going to Mauritius for 10 days. Can you have the kids? For 10 days. Actually, I was really pleased, because it was to have 10 days with the kids was fantastic. And I really thoroughly enjoyed having them, and a bit of quality time with them. It was lovely. And she turned up with a big, she had a little Polo before. And suddenly she's turned up with this big Audi, expensive. And I had no idea that it was, and I found out later it was 30 grand worth of Audi.
Right, okay.
But I was thinking, how has she got this Audi? Yeah. And she said, oh, my boyfriend's paying for me to go on holiday. I thought, oh. And then suddenly, after not talking about finances, I start getting solicitors' letters saying, where's your Form E? We need to finalize the finances.
Oh, I see.
So suddenly I was getting under pressure.
So she realized you could have gone after her finances, in theory.
Well, I remember, and then in July, I was getting pressure to complete the Form E, to get financial disclosure.
Right, just to clarify, just clarify for the viewers what Form E is in a divorce proceedings.
So Form E is where her solicitor was pushing to have, because she'd filed for divorce, but then we hadn't touched on the finances, and then you have to go through financial separation.
And Form E, if I'm correct, it's the form you fill out where you highlight all your savings, assets, earnings,
everything,
value, worth, everything.
It's a long, torturous process.
Very invasive form. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
it's horrendous. To try and work it out accurately when you're self-employed, it's a real nightmare.
Yeah. That's what the Form E is. It's for financial proceedings, where you have to write down every single part of your financial life. Basically, is horrible.
Going through a full financial process separation is, as one barrister said, it's purgatory, and it really is horrible.
So carry on. So 2017, she's pushing for a Form E, saying, listen, we need to get the finances sorted, while you've seen that she's driving in 30 grand's worth of Audi. And the boyfriend's paying for Mauritius trips, apparently. So go on, carry on from there.
Yeah, and I didn't know about the lottery win until we exchanged for me, and I got the Form E from her, and I was in a coffee shop. I remember it really, really well. I opened up her Form E to see that in her assets, it says she's won nearly 1.4 million on the lottery.
1.4?
Yeah, I think it was 1.36 she'd won. It was like,
it's close enough, bro. Bloody hell.
Wow. And I was like, I just almost fell off my chair. I remember just
1.4.
I just remember thinking, oh my God, it just was completely in shock. And it said syndicate. So I guessed from this on this bank statement that it was a lottery win. I didn't know.
Yes, a lottery syndicate. Okay, so carry on. Yeah.
And then I was just in shock. So I then got a letter from her solicitor, very threatening solicitor. Her solicitor was basically bullying me for the whole process for 2.5 years with a lot of wrongfulness. So I was on the end of legal bullying. And it was horrendous in itself, because she was also saying a lot of things that weren't true, claiming a lot of things that she shouldn't have been claiming, stating a lot of things that she shouldn't have been stating. And there's a guidelines for how a solicitor should talk to a litigant in person. And basically her solicitor shredded the book. She just broke all the rules in the book.
Yeah, they can be very aggressive.
Very aggressive.
I think they're trying to scare you.
Real scare.
Bullying tactics.
And a solicitor wrote saying, you mustn't tell the children about the lottery win.
Okay, just slow down again a little bit, yeah. So she put on the Form E that she had a lottery win, basically. Yeah, that she had 1.4. How would that have affected the financials now? Would you have had any claim on it or not?
Well,
in theory, because it was after the breakup.
That it's actually only happened once before or something in my situations. It's a very rare occurrence that we separate, and before you've had full financial separation, one part wins the lottery. The legal view was very clear. It's not matrimonial assets. It's her win.
Oh, that's what they said.
That's what the legal said. I actually think if it had been the other way around.
Yeah, if it was the other way around.
I think it was the other way around. I said this to one lawyer. I said, do you know what? God. I think if it was the other way around, they'd be going, no. She'd be owning a lot of it. If it'd been the other way around, very different. And I said this to one lawyer, and he just laughed. And I remember it stuck in my head.
But this is exactly what I'm saying, Jeremy. I mean, I keep talking about this altered reality. When you enter this sort of stage in life, or this part of life, or the system, or you're unfortunate enough to see this, that altered reality and the bias that we're talking about. I mean, look. Can you see the bias in this? It's hard to explain it to someone who's not been through it, but the absolute bias in the system.
Absolute bias in the system. So I'm still in debt. And my debt is, by this stage, it's growing. It's sort of, really speaking, it's 80 grand of debt now, because it's spiraling. I wasn't making ends meet.
You're more okay. So let's go back to that then. So you were in that 60 grand debt that you walked away with. You're struggling to pay that back. You're paying working long hours. You're giving over £1,000 in CMS, and you got the CMS harassing you and chasing you and bullying you.
But CMS weren't chasing me at this stage. But I was paying CMS, and I was paying all the extras of after school clubs and activities.
Okay, so even though she'd won that money in 2017, you were still paying for all of this?
Yeah, still paying for all the extras. One of the most poignant things that happened, I remember it so clearly to this day, was I didn't even know about the lottery win at this stage. But children were always a barometer for how angry she was. Because whenever I picked them up, how they were with me often was a reflection on how she was.
Yeah.
And anyway, I picked them up after school, and my daughter was really angry with me. But she'd told me that on the Monday she was going to make rock cakes in school. She was year 7 or something, and told me that the week before. And I said, "Oh, good. Save me one, won't you?" I asked. Anyway, I picked her up on the Thursday, and I said to my daughter, "Oh, did you make the rock cakes?" She said, "Yeah." "Oh, were they nice?" "They're okay," she goes. "Oh, did you save me one?" "No," she says. "You didn't pay for any of the mixture."
Oh God, yeah.
And
brainwashing.
at the time, I thought, well, that's terrible because I'm paying maintenance. Does that not count? And then when I realised that actually her mum had won,
it's heartbreaking.
well, her mum had won nearly 1.4 million on the lottery, and she still could say that to my daughter in anger, that I'm not paying for the mixture when she's sitting there in luxury.
But this is, I don't know what to say, Jeremy. It's mind-boggling. I mean,
Yeah,
the system, the behavior, the entitlement, and what scares me is this: that your daughter said this because obviously she's been fed this year.
yeah.
I think the person telling she actually believes this.
I know.
That's the skip with the personality. So she actually believes this.
The daughter, you see, my kid, my ex.
No, I think your ex actually believes that to be true.
Yeah.
In her mind, it is true. That he's not contrary, he's not chipping in. I just think you will, and this is the point. Sorry to cut you up there. By the way, look, apologies. A guy put a comment in. Please, they keep telling me let the guest speak. Stop cutting in. So look, I apologize for that. I will promise to curb that behavior. But Jeremy, sorry, I forgot my chain of thought. Carry on, Jeremy. Sorry, I forgot my chain of thought.
So, I mean, on this point, she continually used the children to make me pay for more and more, with threats of really that I'm gonna not see the children.
Okay, is this still while she won that money?
Yeah, after
so she's won all that money. Okay, so this is what I was getting to earlier. Sorry, now I remember. She's won all that money, yeah? Surely, stay with me on this, right? Okay. She's won that money, right? This relationship's ended. Yes, it's been however 7-8 year marriage. Let's just say neither party was happy. You split up, but guess what? She's got the kids. You're paying maintenance. You're paying other, additional money to her as well. On top of that, she's got a boyfriend. She's won all this money. So my point is, surely one would think, right, chapter of my life, Jeremy, let's put that behind me. Let's just let the kids have a relationship with their father. And I can actually really enjoy life.
I know.
Without having to be this toxic. It can't be healthy to be this toxic.
Even if she'd sat there and said, Jeremy, here's 100 grand, which would have been less than 10% of the winnings. Here's 100 grand to pay off your debts, and let's just mediate and settle it there. And
that's you being optimistic, bro. I can't see you giving anything.
Well,
I think no, but I'm going from the angle that, Jeremy, you pay your CMS, you'll have regular access to the kids. I want them to be healthy and emotionally healthy and have a good, loving relationship with you for their sake. Not for you. I hate you. I don't care. But for the sake of the kids. And also, I want to focus on my lottery win and live my best life. Hence, I won't engage with you too much. Have your relationship with the kids. It's all good. I'm going off into the sunset. Okay, you expecting 100 grand, bro? I think that's a bit optimistic.
Well, it wasn't really because the legal view was, it's her win except for meeting needs, and my needs was simply to be solvent.
Okay, say that again. That's too technical for me. Say that again. Okay,
just to be solvent means I've got no debts.
Right, from the marriage.
Just to be solvent. She never accepted that the marital debt was anything to do with her.
Okay, look, all right, let's go back for a minute then. So your legal position was, or the advice you were getting is that because the debt that you accrued from the marriage is a joint debt, because it was for the family, yeah?
Yeah, it was joint debt.
I can understand that. I'm with you on that.
I could ask for just a small portion.
To pay off that debt.
So I could be without debts, and she'd still have been left with 1.25 million or something.
Yeah, she'll still have tons of money. She ain't going to starve here.
Worth 3 times as much what I got, yeah.
Okay, so look, and what happened with that then? Did you get any of that?
Well, let me tell you a bit more, because there's some real things that happened along the way. she wasn't just getting the debt. Didn't just win the lottery. She was also getting benefits, and she was also getting working tax credits at the time.
Really?
Yeah. There was a loophole in the system where I think it's changed now, so that Universal Credit will look at assets and means. The Child Maintenance Service.
Working.
The Child Maintenance Service won't look at assets and means. I'll come to this in a minute. But she couldn't work more than 15 hours a week because otherwise she wouldn't get the working tax credits. So she'd won the lottery. She's getting maintenance from me. I'm paying double because I'm paying for all the extra school activities. And she's getting an extra £800 a month working tax credits.
My God.
Because that's still allowable. Because they weren't looking at assets and means. So she had everything. She could work part-time, have loads of time to interrupt my time with the children.
So my point is, all the chips are stacked. That's the
I know.
point. And this is what I'm saying. You could have a win of a significant amount of money, but technically, if you're not working, you're entitled to these. This is my point. This is what sort of system is this?
I went to the CMS were pushing me for this revalidation because they said I've got this unearned income. And I wrote back saying, no, I have no unearned income. It's exactly what's on the tax return. By the way, during the financial process started, my ex authorized, she wanted to do a forensic accountant investigation into my business. Yeah. So not only had she won the lottery, she then ordered a forensic accountant to investigate. And my barrister at the time just said, well, actually do it. And I did, because actually I'm running a small, clean business.
Good enough to hide.
And I've got nothing to hide. So I did it. It was purgatory. The reason why the financial investigation was purgatory was because her solicitor continually smashed the rule book up and was involving the forensic accountant in continually saying I'm breaching orders, implying that I'm a bad dad and all of this stuff. And she made the investigation horrible.
Okay, how is it that if her solicitor or her legal team, let's just say, smashing the rule book out the window, crossing the boundary
absolutely
line,
a point.
Are they held accountable? Can
Not
something
yet.
be done about this? Can this be challenged? Because it seems to be you're just a sitting duck.
I've again, the legal system's mad. I put a 300-page report into the Solicitors Regulation Authority, and they just threw it out, going. In fact, the SRA, the Solicitors Regulation Authority, later completely refused to look at it. Well, I think they looked at it, but they knew if they said that she was at fault, it would imply that the judge had done wrong, and they wanted to protect all the judiciary involved. Yeah. And one of the small complaints about the solicitor was that she was late with her court bundles. So they ignored all the big evidence of the solicitor breaching court orders, making threats and harassing me to not follow the court orders, trying to use her own surveyor for the property and all sorts of things, monkey business she was trying. And the SRA would only focus on, they said, we don't think there's that much wrong with being late with court bundles. And I'm like, what? What about all the other things she's done wrong? Which they, conveniently just ignored. So there was to this point, and I'm still chasing this, but at this point in time, the solicitor has not been accountable for her absolute unprofessional behaviour, and that's being polite.
So they're a law unto themselves. Ultimately, none of these people, and this is what I'm saying is the scary bit, that what people don't realise, once you enter this system here, the family court system, the world of divorce, separation, you can be treated as subhuman, inhumane, in an inhumane manner. The sense of injustice eats away at you on top of all the other turmoil you're facing, and there is nothing that can be done to challenge this or these people to be held accountable on any level.
No.
How is this possible?
I know. She could just, and they're all protecting each other, it seems to me. So coming back to the story, what happened was just that so
lottery, when she was getting benefits, she was getting paid money,
she was
getting all of that,
continually using the children
to try
come
and
to me to saying, Dad, you need to pay for this and you need to pay for the other. And I remember my daughter going, but you could afford it. You're earning all this money and trying to explain how much I earned by doing all of my patients and clients. And you've got a lot more money than mum. They didn't know about the lottery win. And yet they kept coming saying, you should pay. You've got a lot more money. And I was like, oh, and it's like, I was just shocked.
Okay, do you think, okay, let me put it another way. Do you think the ex was just money obsessed, or was it just obsessed as getting back at you and making your life hard, or a combination of both?
I think it's both. Because
She loved money.
in the September, I wrote to her saying, I didn't even say to her, and it would have been probably right to say, I'm not paying for any extras now. I'm paying maintenance. That covers all the after-school activities, and they're for education, so they're effectively under maintenance. I could have said, I'm not paying for any extras now. That's covered. And I could have been really harsh, but I was really worried that had I done that, she really would have alienated the kids and I'd have stopped seeing them altogether.
Yeah.
So it's under real... and
you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I've had a recent legal advice from an expert in... at ARPU, an expert in coercive control, and she says, yep, it's absolutely clear financial coercive control. And I was just worried. I just was wanting to see the kids, so I paid more, even though of all the money situation. So I wrote to her and I said, how about, in the most polite, gentle terms, we just pay, we share it, and we pay 50-50 on the after-school activities. So I stopped paying for all the after-school activities, and she contributes 50-50. And she wrote back really angrily how all I care about is money, and that
she turned it on you. She
turned it on me.
Yeah.
She gaslighted.
Personality
she
disorder.
Just turned it on me. All you care about is money. When we separated, you just left us in the gutter with nothing, and that it's my own fault. And you've got to blame yourself for it, Jeremy.
This is, again, like we spoke about in part one. This is personality disorder 101.
I know.
Anything that she does, you'll be accused of. She says she's not right. She'll be telling people, no, he's not right. Anything you say will be used against you. It's as simple as.
So then she goes. She organises with the ballet teacher that she's just going to do a lot more ballet. Doesn't tell me, and then the ballet teacher just presents me with the bill.
Oh, flip it back.
And then it's like, Jeremy, your daughter's going skiing. You need to pay for half of it.
Jeremy, I think you're being too good. I think all the after-school activities need to stop.
I know.
You're being held hostage.
I was. And then I respond back, I'm not in a position to pay for the skiing. And what does she say? Well, you're so selfish or something. And she said, look yourself hard in the mirror, because, the CMS barely covers foods, haircuts, and all the petrol money in her new nice car, running the kids around.
Where's this boyfriend? I thought she had a new boyfriend.
I know,
but
she said that the CMS barely covers the petrol money. And it's like crazy. And then she said, look yourself in the mirror. And if you don't contributing, who suffers? It's the kid. Threatening, again, that if I don't pay up, the kids suffer.
It's emotional blackmail.
Yeah. And it was just crazy. I had thought that in the financial settlement, this would be looked at. But my barrister, he took one look at all of this money and the financial coercive control on me paying double. He took one look at it and goes, no, it's not a Section 25 issue, which is the financial issue. And he just threw it out. He wouldn't even consider looking
Her barrister?
at it. No, my barrister.
Why?
Well, because he's part of the system and he wasn't really working for me.
Oh,
I was paying him a lot of money. But you realise that when you're paying a barrister, they are more interested in their own career and his own personal development, probably wants to be a judge. And he's more interested in his own career than he is in actually helping you.
Not just that, the more acrimony, the more it drags on, more hearings, $2.5 grand a hearing. They're all making money.
It's terrible.
I just want to highlight again, they're all making money off of you. The whole system it's a whole, ecosystem. And they all feed off it. So you are just part of this ecosystem that they fleece money out. They're not there for you. And your kids are just collateral damage. Right, Jeremy, this is a disaster. I mean, I said the whole thing's a disaster.
I know. So
bloody hell. Okay, so look, let's slow down. Yeah, I thought I was going to try and manage this in some sort of chronological order. It's gone, bro. My brain's fried. Yeah, but let's just deal with what we're dealing with right now.
I know. So
look,
much.
She's won the lottery. She's claiming from the government. The government's happy to support these so-called struggling single mothers. Yeah, the poor downtrodden women, so to speak, now, yeah? Now, look, I'm going to tackle this from a completely different angle, yeah? Look, I'm from an Indian background, I'm Muslim, I'm from a completely different culture, I'm a very multicultural individual generally. You're from a different era, different culture, different background. Societally, how we function in our family and household, maybe similar but different in certain ways. But how is it this pattern of behavior? How the government have incentivized one gender against the other? I mean, this everything you're telling me, the lottery win, the government still pay benefits, they can't be checked and whatnot. CMS will come after you. Her money and her assets are now irrelevant. If it was the other way around, you'd be divvying up, your lottery win. If it was the other way around, you'd have no chance. Yeah. How is it that the society and the system, every mechanism in this is geared against you as a man? Why? How did this happen? You look like you've been around a long time, Jeremy. Were you aware of all of this?
No, absolutely not. I'm more aware of it now. I mean, so the thing was, I mean, it's just there's so much more to say about it. So there she was, and then so she writes to me very angrily about, well, you're not, you need to contribute. The kids are still coming to me to pay for more. And
okay, she's using the kids to carry on the guilt trip, yeah?
So with the CMS, they suddenly said there's this revalidation or recalculation of this unearned income. And I went to a tribunal with them. It took a process of 6 months to go to this tribunal, which was a complete another sham. You got some judge who's a puppet judge, and basically says, my hands are tied, I can't do anything, it's the law. But actually in that hearing, they made up rubbish too, because I didn't know the CMS rule book at that time. And if I had, it would have possibly helped. But I said to the CMS, I'm paying all this, I'm in big debt, I'm paying for all these after school activities. These should be considered as maintenance. The after school activities that I'm paying double for. And I think they made up rubbish. I think all she said was, no, we're not going to accept it because we're not going to accept it because hasn't agreed it in writing.
Okay, hold on. Could you not have at this point or any time during this process with all this going, could you not have just said, you know what, I'm just not going to pay that because it's irrelevant?
Yeah.
Or was it just the guilt trip because of the kids?
It's the guilt trip because of the kids, because I knew, and actually what happened was...
Okay, let me put it this way. If you just say stopped it, yeah? Say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done living like a prisoner, being kept hostage, blackmailed, emotionally blackmailed, financially, coercively controlled for the sake of for the love of my children, yeah? And they're going to get alienated anyway. You know what, I'm stopping it, and maybe put it onto her so she would have thought, right, he stopped paying, but I'll have to now pay. Or do you think she'd have stopped the kids going, saying, look, your dad's not paying, sorry, you're not going? Do you think she'd have done that?
She did.
Oh, she did?
She did.
Well,
I'll come to that.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
You can't make it up. I'll come to that in a minute. So I had the tribunal.
Okay, before you come down, Jeremy, let's have a quick break and we'll dive into it, yeah? Because I'm trying to absorb all of this, so just bear with me. Quick break, we'll jump straight into it.
Okay. Yeah, because you can split it up.
Right, we're back. Now, just try and stay with us. I know it's all over the place, but like I said, it's quite a story and shock and horror. So, right, Jeremy, carry on. I'm not even going to try and take notes or keep up with it. Let's just go with it now,
so,
yeah?
With the CMS, we had this tribunal sham of a hearing. And she said, no, we're not going to accept any of the after-school activities as CMS payments because your ex has not agreed it in writing.
Who said that? The judge?
No, it was just the bullion
barrister.
No, it was the CMS.
Oh, sorry, the CMS said that to you.
Agent who was there, who was a
right.
vicious, no, you've got to pay. I'd said to the CMS several times, but she's won the lottery. And they kept saying to me, no, we have our laws. The law is we're not allowed to look at means and assets. We only can look at income. So they're not going to consider her lottery win. And I wrote to them, they're not going to consider her lottery win. They're not going to consider my debt. They're only interested in me, in your income. And that's the only, sorry, we can do nothing about it. It's the law. It's the only way we can calculate it. There's nothing we can do. So in the tribunal, the judge said, sorry, I think he had an inkling of empathy or sympathy for me. So, but he said, sorry, there's nothing I can do. It's the law. We can't look at means and assets. We can't look at your debt. We can't look at her lottery win. And no, we can't accept any of the double payments you're making for her because she hasn't agreed in writing. And at the time, my joke was this, well, actually, there was more chance of Boris Johnson doing a U-turn on Brexit than there was of her ever agreeing in writing to accept this. I mean, it was just a lunacy or ludicrous to consider that she would do that. So it was madness. So here I was, being forced to pay. So the kids kept coming to me to pay for more and more. I mean, and one time, my daughter, she wanted to leave school and do home education. So my ex was considering doing online schooling for my daughter. So, she's asking me, and I was like, well, no, I can't afford that. But and she's saying, well, and then she said, well, you're earning a lot, you can afford it. Well, she's working part-time, of course. Never mind.
Okay, where did she get this idea that you're earning a lot? Why is this
I know.
constant? Is it in her head?
She actually was just.
Does she believe it? You think? Does she actually believe it, or
Yeah,
she's just making it up or playing along?
She just had this absolute, I don't know what to say. Cognitive dissonance. Unwillingness.
It's like a Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, just completely unwillingness to realize that what the reality, just completely unrealistic. It's just, I don't know where she got it from, but. So anyway, and I got this conversation, and I got the conversation, in writing, and she goes to my daughter, well, have you asked Dad about paying for online schooling? And my daughter responded back very wisely at the time, no, that conversation should be between the adults, which was a really interesting statement from my daughter.
Say, yes.
I know. And my ex just wrote, no. Any kid would ask. You just can't make it up that she'll use the children continually. And I'd written to her so many times saying, please don't involve the children in the money.
Okay, well, I'm trying to establish, look, I'm trying to be fair here in the sense that I'm trying to think, okay, is she just about the money, or is she just trying to get back at you? But it's now clear to see that there's an element of it's the money. There's a big part of it is to scrape money out of you, and you owe her, and it's like an entitlement to money.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying, and not want to accept the reality that you just cannot afford it.
No, and my sister, who's been a tremendous support to me, she said very wisely to me. She said, because it's really, really clear that my ex was really, really angry. And many people have said, well, what have you done to her to make her so angry? And I said, hand on heart, I don't know. I really don't know. I was an honest, hardworking dad. And I said there was no violence, there were no drugs, there was no alcohol. I wasn't nasty, there were no affairs. I was just wanting to, just working hard. And people would say, what have you done to make her so angry? And I said, I honestly don't know. And my sister said to me very wisely, she said, it's really clear that she really, really wants to hurt you, but you just have to understand that she's only trying to hurt you as much as she is hurt inside herself.
Yes, and this is what I've said with the personality disorder. This public enemy number one, this person in her mind that's hurt her, when you got married with her, when you got with her, you took that focus. What I was thinking is when she got this new boyfriend, her focus would shift onto the new public enemy, the new, what's the word, the person that's oppressing her, this oppressive man. Because the personality, just like I said, it will shift onto a new target. Well, that's what I thought might happen, but it seems like she's focused onto you.
Yeah.
And she's latched onto you, and
she was always very critical of her own dad for never supporting her as she grew up.
Yes.
And her mother had said to me, you don't know how much trauma I've had in my life. And it's what we talked about last week. It's generational trauma, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And, as much as I'm ever going to know, actually, what I do know, and I have to keep hold of this thought, is that I know deep down it's not me. Because I do have to hold on to that thought, because I know it to be true, and also it would drive me mad. And I know that when we separated, I know I could have done nothing more to make the marriage work, and but it was fruitless trying to continue living in that soulless environment. So, but my issue is not with my ex. I have to have some empathy in my heart for her own illness, her own
She needs help.
anger.
She needs
Yeah,
professional help.
yeah.
Let's be straight.
That's not my issue. It's only where it affects the children is it my issue. And that they're my concern. I wish her well, my ex, but she's not my issue now. And, I've long let her go. And good luck to her. But it's the children. And so, yes, so the CMS would just simply not agree to anything except leaving me in big debt, leaving her in massive luxury, leaving me paying more, going more into debt. They didn't give a monkeys.
Yes.
And it's one of the key reasons why the laws about the CMS are so wrong. They absolutely need to be taken back into Parliament for reconsideration, or just completely dissolving the whole thing.
Well, you know about the recent powers that they've got in it, where they can put the electronic tag on you, revoke your passport, license, put you in jail without even taking you in front of a judge. They've got the powers. Yeah,
I know.
You know about it, and it's been passed under our noses. The general public don't even know.
Fast track, more direct, inhumane punishment of dads.
And these are we're talking about law-abiding, paying fathers.
These are
people
not
who are willing to pay. My point is, what I don't get is, how is it that no one in government, across the board, I still sit and wonder how it's come this far. These bills have been passed, these laws have been passed, and they really affect, let's face it, the working working class more than anyone, yeah? How is it that, and like I said, 3 additional deaths a day caused by CMS, how is it that no one in government is taking any notice, no interest, and it's people like us on the outskirts trying to bring attention to it? I just find it shocking. I find it completely shocking.
I don't know, but I personally believe that these politicians are getting rich from it.
They're in on it. They've got to be on it.
I think that it's part of what they're in on.
It's
an absolute scam. I mean, even just to put you to collect and pay and to make 24% profit
of children's money.
And many times this is of money for families who are really struggling on the breadline, that they steal 25% of what should be going towards the children's welfare and upbringing. And then the child maintenance service go, oh, it's in the best interest of the children.
And they make 40, I don't know, was it 40 mil a year profit?
I know.
Yeah, 40, 50 mil. They're making big bucks. And this is of children. These children are collateral damage. And this is what I've said. So the money is taken out the working class and lower, yeah? The family courts fleece you, the judges, they're on $2.5 grand a day, so how bothered are they? Who knows? Yeah, there are some good ones out there, as we know, but they're still on $2.5 grand a day. Solicitors are, like I said, they're clocking money up every phone call, every minute. They're clocking money. Yeah, barristers are fleecing you. Your own barristers are fleecing you. They're claiming legal aid of government, and government are feeding them that money. They're fleecing you. The contact centers, they're making money. The stupid DAP courses only for men, they're making money. Add to that, and CMS are making money on the back of it. There's a whole ecosystem, as we said, on the back of family breakdown, relationship breakdown. Like I said, your missus is doing really well financially, clearly, obviously, with the win and whatnot. And good luck to her. She should enjoy it and live her best life. But guess what? She's still incentivized by the law to deny contact with children because she gets money. How can anyone have that law in place? Tell me. How? Who thought of that law? Okay, let me ask you one question, Jeremy, while I'm on a sort of roll now, yeah? If your son tomorrow, he's 18, 19, 20, right? He's getting into a relationship, or he's going to get married, have a kid. Knowing what you know now, what you've been through, what you're still going through, and knowing the system that is around the family unit, the systems that in play, the powers at play, what would you say to him? Why would anyone want to get married and settle it? Like, why would you take the risk? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. After today, it's like I've got not just deja. It's like I'm in another alternate reality, thinking, how could someone live like this?
I just pray that he meets a nice, sane woman who isn't.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Why are we in this matrix where you are at the mercy of a good woman? Like, do you know what I'm saying? We're at the mercy. So you're saying, I hope that's like saying, I hope he has a lottery win. Like, what?
I know.
I mean, how did this happen, Jeremy? How? Tell me. How is this possible?
Yeah.
I'm in shock.
Mm. I know. So
Sorry, carry on.
yeah, I'd like to go
carry
back
on.
to the point where I was paying. You say to me, well, why were you carrying on paying all these extras for all the extras and after school activities? And I started to write to my ex and said, I am paying double. I can't afford to pay double. I'm paying through it through the maintenance. I'm paying through it again. And she just ignored me. And then she said, I'm paying double. And then,
Okay, does she know you're an easy target because she knows you were going to give in because of the kids?
yeah,
She knew that.
well, she kept using the kids. I actually don't know what she's thinking because she's often very angry. And so, I didn't talk to her a lot, but, and I kept my conversations with my ex very short, very polite, just to the point, because I was never going to rise and get involved. And if she said horrible things, I just ignored it, just let it go, because no point in getting into debate and argument.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my son said at the beginning of, this was in 2021, so over 2.5 years ago, he says to me, Dad, I'm thinking about doing Krav Maga. And I go, oh, okay. And I knew exactly where this was leading.
Okay, gotcha.
Normal story. He doesn't mention anything about paying for it. But I knew. And then a month or so later, he says, Dad, I'm thinking of doing Krav Maga. But doesn't mention the money. And then on the third time, he goes, oh, Dad, I'm thinking about doing Krav Maga. He might have even have mentioned, oh, Mum can't afford it or something. And he goes, would you pay for it? And where am I in all of this? It's like, what am I going to say to my son when he comes to me in genuine, and I don't want to involve him in the money. I've got no choice. I think like I just feel there's no way of saying it to him other than, of course.
But this,
and it can't, and it's like, I didn't, it's so difficult. So anyway, so I said yes. So anyway, then what happened was, my contact by this stage dwindled. COVID times, difficulties, and I wasn't really seeing them. I was seeing them less and less, and I was seeing my daughter a lot less as well.
Can I ask you a question quickly? Yeah, when you did see them, or the periods that you've seen them and spent with them, did you feel that bond? How was it? Or was it just a formality? Is it just a formality that you're there, oh hi, chit chat, and it's not. You know how it is when you're with your kids living at home and they're jumping on you, that close, that bond, that love you see in their eyes. Is it?
Much of the time when I'm with the children, I was walking on eggshells. Still do, walking on eggshells. That actually, I have to be a good, perfect dad. I can't do anything. I can't, I mustn't take my son to see a film that's 15 rated because he's not 15 yet. Or she's going to complain about that, or she's going to complain about wet socks, or
you're constantly,
or you let him
guessing
sit,
yourself.
You let him play too much on the computer, whatever. She's going to complain about something, and she's always quizzing them on the phone, texting them, messaging them all the time. So I didn't have what I described as a quality relationship with the children.
It's just you're going through the motions.
Yeah, it's really a few times actually we did go away. We were fortunate enough, my parents paid for me, which is a really lovely thing, and they paid for me to visit my brother in New York, and we went for a fabulous week's holiday to Orlando, which was a lovely trip. And when they were away, finally they relaxed, and there were a few occasions when we did have some beautiful I had a few beautiful holidays.
Okay, so when you said they relax, so how can I put it? So their personality came out more, they settled into it because they're living under this regime as well.
Yeah, they were away from the feeling of their mum being
controlling,
and then they would turn into the lovely kids I know and love.
Basically, they could just be children again.
Yeah, they could be children messing around. We could play cards and be silly and do all sorts of funny stuff.
No, that's good.
So, yeah. So anyway, with this Krav Maga,
carry on with that. Sorry, the Krav Maga,
yeah. So I said to I decided to write to my ex again. Politely, and I just very politely, hope you've had a nice summer. With Krav Maga, this is after school activities and it's covered under maintenance, because I'd already written saying I can't pay for things twice. I said I can't pay for things twice. Do you want to pay for Krav Maga, or shall I take it out of the maintenance?
Okay.
She didn't respond to me. But I'd like to read you something at this point.
Okay.
This came from my son the next day. Without my ex having responded to me, my son said, and remember that he's now 13 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Dad, what the fuck?
What?
That's some pretty shit parenting. You told me 3 times that you would let me do craft, and one day before it starts, you pull out, and you couldn't even fucking tell me. You emailed Mum so she would have to tell me. I know you can pay for craft. After all, Mum pays for everything for me. I asked for one thing from you, and it's too much. That's shit parenting at its finest."
Wow. Look, either she wrote that, yeah. Okay, do you think
He wrote, no,
do you believe he wrote
I
it?
think he wrote it. And he said, "From now on, I choose where and when I stay. I'm 13 and I can make my own decisions."
Okay, look, even if he wrote it, let's be straight, it's her talking. She has...
I mean, he
They're like
could
puppets,
only have
yeah.
known about it because she mentioned after I emailed, because I did not mention it to my
but
son.
it's not just that, Jeremy. She you got to understand, this is classic narcissistic personality disorder behavior. The children believe she's a victim.
Mm.
What did we say about that? The children even believe poor mum.
Yeah.
Mum's got no money, because that story the situation with the personality disorder, look, like, as we discussed last week, yeah. Even the children will be used to validate her and her stories. And do you see what I'm saying? To make her feel good about herself. The children will be part of the game.
Yeah. And I wrote back to my son and I said this. I said, "I have paid for craft. If your mum has told you that I'm not paying for it, she's not right. It's the one time that I said to him, that she's not right, because I didn't like to say it, but I felt this time it was needed. If she will not pay for it from the money I have already given her, then of course I will pay for it again and be happy to do so. I want you to do it and I want you to support you doing it. Please calm down and realize this. You shouldn't get caught up in arguments between your mum and dad. It's between your mum and me. But whatever happens, you will do craft and I am paying for it." And then my son responded just saying, "Mum has already paid." And then he said, "Anyway, the CMS barely covers things like food, clothes, shoes, and haircuts." So he introduced the child maintenance payments. And, and then, of course, the fear that I'd had, which was all along, if I say stop paying for things or
You'll stop seeing them
stop
completely,
paying for the double, if I only pay the maintenance and I don't pay double for all the extras, the fear was, because she'd said it already, that I'd stop seeing the children. What happens? I say I'm only going to pay the maintenance and not the double. And what happens immediately, and this was only about one activity, immediately what happens was then after that, I didn't see my son and he wouldn't speak to me.
Right,
So
yeah.
since then, I've barely seen him. I think he might have stayed with me 2 nights since then.
So
and
this
then,
was at the age from the age of 13.
Yeah, so it's been very little contact since then for me with my son.
So that's for the last 2 years.
Yep, and I think he's very angry at me still.
Yeah, look.
And it comes directly from her involving him in the money and lying to him. And it's...
No, but Jeremy, this is a bigger issue now, because look, as I've mentioned before personally, obviously, look, you've been held hostage so far because you love your children.
Yeah.
You are being financially abused, coerced because you love your children, and you are, even though you're out of the relationship, you are still being kept hostage. You are still living like a prisoner to the love of your children ultimately. And the reality is, I try and always put a positive message out there, for fathers and that, but I think there's a truth that and reality that we have to accept, especially those that have lived with women with personality disorders and narcissistic personality disorders, that there is no co-parenting with a narcissist, period. It's not possible.
It's actually
impossible.
Called, you can't co-parent together. Actually, it's the term for it when you're in this kind of a relationship is simply parallel parenting.
Yes.
You've got to just do things, and you cross over with the absolute minimum of discussion. And
No, but Jerry, you say that, Jerry, but okay, you've tried to do minimal discussion, yeah? But look, you're a good man. Look, you're a decent fella, you're a good man, and you love your children. And I know fathers get guilt tripped into you know, like you said, the constant money that you're being guilt tripped into paying because you know the threat is hanging over your head that you won't see them. So you've tried to fight it, but you've succumbed to it. You've succumbed to it. You've succumbed to it. Yeah. She's got money. And look, like you said, she ain't struggling. She's not hard up. But this is where this gets worrying, that you've got all that much money, but you're lying to your own kids because obviously she's not well, and she, in front of your children, poor mum is struggling. Like I said, look, the personality disorder, to you, you know how she was, but to the outside world, she's a lovely lady. She's a suffering, downtrodden woman. And the scary thing is, even to play that card on your children to win their sympathy so you can use them in your control and power game. You got that much money. If you're not going to shell it out on your kids and you're going to still use the kids to attack dad and ruin that relationship for a few quid for classes, what sort of a person is that? How can you co-parent with that? It's not possible.
You can't. Even this year, she went on holiday again to somewhere like Mauritius for 10 days. She didn't tell me she was going away. So I could have had my son for the 10 days, but she organises that her grandmother looks after him. So, and he was really angry because he was really angry with me because he said, well, you shouldn't have, made a fuss because, I was quite capable of looking after myself, and she doesn't tell me. And then she just says, well, actually, I'm hard up now because of the finances, while she's on holiday in Mauritius for 10 days and struggling. And
Mauritius ain't cheap,
and it just completely, it's just completely, I mean, it's just
soul destroying.
I couldn't make it up.
Look, I'm being straight with you, Jeremy. Look, like I said, you're a good man. Me personally, knowing obviously what we know, I understand personality disorders. I understand it very in depth. I understand it, and I will not be held hostage like this or kept like this. There will be an element of there comes a point where you cannot be held. What is the power dynamic? You have to concede all power. Take them, keep them. When they grow up, I'll hope I've done my best. I'll hope and pray for them. When they grow up, hopefully, some kids they know that the problem parent, because of the damage they take when when the father's ejected, automatically kids are scared. One their parents is left. From a children's point of view, one parent has disappeared out of the blue. The other might disappear. So they hold on emotionally even more to the other parent. And if the other parent's toxic, not well, they're suffering from this personality disorder, they're using the children to feed their disorder in their power dynamics, you've got no chance. You've absolutely no chance. And until society start looking into this and accepting this, because this is coming up everywhere. Everyone I speak to, this is the constant pattern of behavior, this personality disorders. Until we address this, get these people help and therapy, or someone steps in with some power and say this cannot go on, what chance have these kids got? It's concerning. It is absolutely soul destroying even to listen to this, honestly.
Yeah it's shocking. I
think, Jeremy, I need a break.
Me too.
I need a quick break, I think. Back in a sec. Right, we're back. This is a very tough conversation. Jeremy, just obviously hang in there, and anything you'd like to say, maybe a message to your kids, because we don't know what the future holds. I mean, anything you want, Jeremy. Let's just put the message out there.
This is tough to talk about. We've just been talking about this, mentioning this before we were recording, and
keep going, Jeremy. Keep going. You're doing good, man. Come on.
It truly is gutting. And if this is a message to my kids, I love you so much, and I've done probably more than you'll ever know. I've bit my tongue and not spoken out more than you'll ever know to try and protect you from this. You may choose to only ever believe your mum, but there is this other side that if you have the courage to listen to, tells a different story. It's tough for you to hear because I'm afraid it's not pleasant to hear the other side. I've done everything I can to support you at a cost. You know I love cycling. I don't know if you know, remember that I don't ever really had time when you were young to go off and spend time doing things for myself because I was working so hard. And I remember that at the time the Tour de Britain was cycling through Berkhamsted where we were living, but I couldn't attend to watch it's my passion. I love cycling. Commuting to work on my bike was one of my absolute joys in life. The hour of peace and quiet, just pedaling to work and back. And I didn't have time to go to see the race through Berkhamsted because I was working hard for the family. I don't think you understood at the time that I was a really hard-working dad trying to support you and to support your mum. If you ever want to look at it, I'm afraid it's really sad that your mum has that hidden anger and hidden hatred of men that comes from maybe her mum or generations behind. I don't know what trauma your grandmother suffered, but I'm not those men that they've come to really hate. I know they've passed that anger down to me, and they've cast me as the horrible dad who doesn't support. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I love you so much. And I'm so sad for all the times we've missed out. To me being a proper dad to you, where you can really be with me and we can have fun together. I know your mum's coached you so much that you shouldn't do stuff if I don't ask you, or mustn't spring surprises on you. And it's really prevented me from being able to be really fully relaxed. You know this. I don't need to tell you that. You know I've been walking on eggshells, trying to not upset your mum. So, because I know if I upset your mum, she's going to get angry, and in turn, you get affected. I've seen it so many times. And, and the kids, I love you so much. And, and I'm really, really sorry that you've just been caught up in all of this stuff. It's not right. And then at the end of the day, forgiveness in your heart, maybe forgiveness for me, not for standing up to your mum perhaps, or forgiveness to your mum for the pain and hurt she's got inside herself. I don't know where that's come from, her anger. It's sad that she's had to live with that anger. I don't know where it comes from. But, I would only love to think that you don't carry on living life thinking that all men are useless and worthless, like your mum and her grandmother believe, because it's not true. There are really good men out there. Lily, I hope you marry one. Leo, I hope you can be a good man too. And what more can I say?
Look, guys, I just want to say, look, this man clearly loves his children. He has sacrificed a hell of a lot to try and be present in his children's life. I can vouch for it. I've heard the story on and off camera. And to his own detriment, he's done as much as he physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically could have. He's done all he can, and there's only so much you can do at the end of the day. We don't hold the cards, we don't have all the chips. We are fighting a monster, we're fighting a big system. And I want to take this opportunity as well to give a shout out to my kids. Kids, I love you, I miss you as well. It's been nearly 19 months, and even I'm feeling emotional now. I'm doing all of this for you, and whatever happens, kids, look, don't let this affect your life. Live a fulfilled life. Do not let this trauma hold you back. Do not let these things hold you back. Do not let anyone else hold you back from chasing your own dreams and being happy and fulfilled within your own life. And what I would also say is, kids, regardless of what I say, what anyone else says. The truth will be the truth regardless, and you have a duty as adults when you grow up to seek the truth, because the truth will be the truth regardless of me, what Jeremy, what anyone else says. To all those alienated kids out there, only the truth can really set you free. And on that note, I don't think we're going to go on any longer. I think we'll end it here. This is the reality of the situation. Amongst all the banter, jokes, and the back and forth, the reality is there's a lot of heartache and pain behind all of these stories that sometimes doesn't fully convey, but I think we'll end it here. Thank you for watching Disqualified Dads. And kids, I love you, and I'll keep fighting for as long as I can. Thank you.